Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Kaya and I'm a girl living in Austin, Texas, and I'm super passionate about real estate investing. I currently have a property in East Austin that used to be an Airbnb and I was a superhost for a year. So today's video is all about the top 5 worst Airbnb mistakes that you can make. And trust me, I've made my fair share of mistakes on Airbnb, so I feel like it's my job as a former host to let you guys know exactly what not to do on Airbnb. If you enjoy this video, I would so appreciate it if you subscribed, but without further ado, let's jump into it. So I think one of the most egregious errors that you can make on Airbnb from the get-go is not hiring a professional photographer to do your listing photos. I don't care how good you are with your iPhone camera, it's just not gonna cut it. You must have professional photography for your listing and professional staging. And by professional staging, I just mean it has to look really nice and like how someone would expect a hotel to look. Think about the last time that you were scrolling on Airbnb to book something for yourself or your family. You're scrolling through all of the listings and there's one key photo for each listing that will make you either keep scrolling or actually click on it. Your listing photo, your key photo is what will make or break you. And that's why I always recommend for all Airbnb hosts, you need to have some sort of wow, like Instagrammable moment that's gonna really pop on the Airbnb website and make sure that your listing really stands out. It does not have to be something complicated. It can be something as simple as a cool piece of artwork in your house or like a cool mural in the backyard. Maybe you have a pool, make that your listing photo. My point is there has to be something unique about your listing to make people stop and actually click on it, because honestly, that conversion of standing out as people are scrolling through all the different listings in Austin, Texas, for example, that is the hardest moment. Once people get to your page and they read the reviews and they start to warm up to the idea, converting a booking is not hard. The biggest hurdle you will have as an Airbnb host is just getting someone to click on your listing, especially if you're a new listing. Obviously, more clicks equals more chances for conversion. Standing out on Airbnb is absolutely everything. It's not enough anymore to just have a habitable space. People come to Airbnb because they want a unique, cool vacation experience for their getaway. Like, they want something cool and unique. If they didn't want something cool and unique, they would just stay at the local Hilton. So as an Airbnb host, it's your job to make something feel special and memorable and fun and exciting. And like I said, it does not have to be complicated, but it does have to stand out. So professional photography is an absolute must, and the other absolute must that I'm including in point number 1 is just having some sort of Instagrammable moment for marketing. The second worst mistake you can do is buying really cheap furniture and really cheap supplies. Don't pay for something twice. And what I mean by that is, take a coffee machine, for example. Most Airbnb guests plan to use a coffee machine. They do use a coffee machine every single morning inside the Airbnb. If you buy like a really crappy, cheap coffee machine, it's probably gonna break in a month or two, and then you have to buy another one. And you'll probably have to continue replacing that crappy coffee machine every couple months, and that's just not a sustainable thing to do. Instead, what I recommend is actually do your homework and read reviews for things. And you know, even you can even reference other videos that people have made about, you know, the best investments that they've made for their Airbnb, like coffee machines, types of fabrics for sofas, that kind of thing. Because when you invest in the quality of a product in your Airbnb, first of all, guests are gonna notice that it's nice, and it'll make them feel like they're actually getting their money's worth for their Airbnb that they're staying at. And 2, you won't have to constantly be replacing it or fixing it. Now, with furniture specifically, especially high traffic pieces of furniture, like sofas especially, I strongly suggest that you do not skimp out on this. Spend the money and invest in a really high quality, sturdy, high performance material and get it scotch guarded so that any spills, stains, anything won't stick to the fabric. Additionally, kind of in the same category of like, don't buy cheap furniture, cheap, uncomfortable mattresses, it's a no-go. Airbnb guests are there to sleep at the end of the day. Like, that's the whole point of an Airbnb. It's hospitality, it's like a hotel. They're there to sleep and they wanna have comfortable mattresses. Now, comfortable mattresses don't have to be insanely expensive. Like, don't go out and buy a Tempur-Pedic. That's probably not the best use of your money for furnishing your Airbnb. But I will share with you that the IKEA mattresses, I'll link the exact ones that I have in my rental property down below, because so many of my reviews were about how comfortable these mattresses were, and they were not that expensive. They're literally from IKEA. The third mistake that is just honestly not excusable in my opinion, like, we're in 2022, there's literally no reason why you should be doing this, and that is not using a dynamic pricing tool. I talked about this and how I automated my Airbnb business, but Dude, dynamic pricing tools are absolutely everything, because if you're not using a dynamic pricing tool, you are not maximizing your revenue at all. You are losing tons of potential money if you're not using a tool like PriceLabs or Beyond. The best part about these tools is that while it's a lot of work up front to set your parameters and like identify special rates for like periods of the year, like seasonality and that kind of thing, once you set all of your parameters, it's completely passive. You literally just set it and forget it. Obviously, you should be checking back in on your dynamic pricing tool just to make sure that things are going the way that you want it. Other than that, it's totally passive. You do all the work up front and then you have the dynamic pricing tool just take care of your pricing forever. Now, I am an affiliate with PriceLabs. I love PriceLabs. It's such a good dynamic pricing tool. It's so robust, super thorough. Their help articles are amazing. If you want to implement PriceLabs in your Airbnb business, I will include a link down below for you to go sign up for PriceLabs. Okay, the fourth mistake is something that I think has gotten kind of popular as the, Airbnb business model becomes more and more popular, but guys, you have to be like a true host. Airbnb is all about hospitality. Be thoughtful with your guests. If you solely rely on automatic messaging and you never really personally reach out and connect with your guests, not that you're gonna get a bad review for that, but if you do go the extra mile and, message the guests personally, recommend activities in the area if they're coming on a special weekend and there's like, I don't know, like a festival or like a concert in town, let them know, like they'll really appreciate it. It doesn't have to be time consuming or expensive. You can do things like leaving water bottles in the fridge for your guests or leaving some chocolates in the kitchen for your guests. It just shows that you're being thoughtful for your guests' comfort. For my Airbnb, literally every single review mentioned what a thoughtful, responsive host I was. And that's something that people really will remember, and that's how you get repeat bookings. Repeat bookings are so underrated because you already know the guest already knows your property and how everything works. If you can get repeat guests or guests referring your property to their friends and family, that is an excellent marketing tool to get more and more bookings that will probably result in great ratings. And there's even a way to automate being thoughtful. Like for example, with Hospitable, which is like an automatic guest messaging tool that I was using for my Airbnb, there is an option for you to message your guests after the first night just to check in on them and be like, hey, how was your first night? Do you need anything? Let me know if you have any questions. So you can automate some of being thoughtful, but I truly, truly believe that if you just behave like a human being and treat your guests like human beings and be a little bit thoughtful and really practice the spirit of hospitality, your guests are gonna notice and they're gonna have a better experience for it. The fifth mistake, and one that I have personally made, is not paying attention to cash flow. Now, cash flow and revenue are two different things. You can make a ton of money on Airbnb. I mean, I made $50,000 in my first year of Airbnb, but that did not mean that I kept all $50,000. Now, Airbnb, while it is a great opportunity to earn a ton of money because short-term rentals just inherently gross higher than like long-term traditional rentals, you can earn a lot more money, but the operational expenses can be very expensive. Watch your expenses. I strongly recommend using a tool like QuickBooks or something. It's not that expensive and you can categorize all of your expenses. They'll give you cash flow statements and profit and loss, and it can really give you a better idea of exact numbers of how your business is doing. Because Airbnb, while it is a great way to make money on the side, ultimately, if you're doing it right, it's a business, and all businesses should be cash flow positive. So that's why I strongly suggest that you use some sort of accounting tool like QuickBooks or something just to keep track of your cash flow and make sure that you truly are cash flow positive and that your profits make sense. Like if your profits aren't enough to justify all the time that you're spending, all the stress that you're having, like literally everything. If your property is getting trashed every weekend and you're barely making $500 a month, is it worth it? So yeah, paying attention to cash flow is important because in all businesses, cash flow is king. So those are the top 5 worst Airbnb mistakes that anyone can ever make. I've definitely made some of these, including the cash flow thing, and that's actually why I stopped doing Airbnb, because I figured out that Airbnb for my business model was not super profitable. So I actually stopped doing Airbnb because I realize that I was making this giant mistake. In terms of my personal portfolio, I am kind of flirting with the idea of starting another Airbnb. I have this business idea for an Airbnb that I just cannot get out of my head. And if you're an entrepreneur like me, you know that when you get a really good idea, it's literally all you ever think about. So if you want to see me potentially buy a property, furnish it, decorate it, start another Airbnb and scale the crap out of it, then definitely subscribe, because that's all content that I will 100% be filming. I am so curious to know what mistakes y'all have witnessed from other hosts, or even mistakes that you've made yourself with Airbnb. Let me know in the comments down below what terrible mistakes you have made or other people have made, and let's have a little conversation about it, because truly in entrepreneurship, the best way to learn is from your mistakes. Anyway, y'all, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you stick around, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, my dogs are silly.